Your hands are shaking. Your heart's pounding so hard you can hear it. Everyone's staring, waiting for you to crack. But when Jeff Bezos was watching his company burn to the ground, losing 94% of its value in months, he looked like this. The same expression Marcus Aurelius had when barbarian armies surrounded Rome. The same look Elon Musk wore during Tesla's darkest hour. What they're doing isn't what you think. It's not meditation. It's not breathing exercises. It's actually the complete opposite of what your brain is screaming at you to do. And once you understand what's really happening in those moments when pressure hits, when your boss puts you on the spot, when everything's falling apart, you'll realize your brain has been using the wrong program this entire time. There's a switch that billionaires flip that most people never even know exists. A mental technique so powerful that it built empires, survived wars, and now runs the world's biggest companies. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to flip that switch, how to go from losing your mind to thinking like a strategist. But first, you need to understand why everything you've been taught about handling pressure is not just wrong, it's making you weaker. Here's what I mean. Every time you're under pressure, someone tells you to take a deep breath or think positive thoughts or just calm down. And what happens? You try it, and you feel even more out of control. That's because your brain is in fight or flight mode, pumping adrenaline through your system, and you're trying to use the same panicked mind to calm itself down. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Think about the last time you were really under pressure. Maybe a presentation, a difficult conversation, a crisis at work. You probably told yourself, just breathe, just relax. And it made you feel worse, didn't it? More anxious, more scattered, more like you were failing at something that should be simple. Here's why. Your brain interprets that internal struggle as another threat. Now you're not just dealing with the original pressure, you're also fighting yourself. You're literally making your nervous system work against you. But 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius figured out something that modern psychology is just starting to understand. Something that completely flips this whole approach on its head. And when billionaires face their darkest moments, this is exactly what they do instead. Marcus Aurelius was leading the Roman Empire while barbarian tribes were literally trying to destroy everything he'd built. Plague was killing his people, wars were draining his resources, and the weight of an entire civilization was on his shoulders. But instead of trying to control the chaos around him, he made a radical shift that changed everything. He realized that the moment you stop fighting what you can't control and start focusing only on what you can, your mind becomes unshakable. This is exactly what Jeff Bezos did when Amazon was hemorrhaging money. While other CEOs were panicking about stock prices and market conditions, things they couldn't control, Bezos focused solely on customer experience and long-term strategy, things he could control. When Elon Musk was facing Tesla's production crisis, sleeping on the factory floor, he wasn't wasting mental energy on what the media was saying or what investors were thinking. He was laser-focused on the one thing he could control, solving the production problems. Warren Buffett does this during market crashes. Ray Dalio during economic uncertainty. They all use the same mental framework that Marcus Aurelius discovered 2,000 years ago. And here's what's incredible. Once you understand this shift, once you know the 3 specific techniques that make this automatic, pressure doesn't feel like pressure anymore. It feels like clarity. But there's something you need to understand first about how your brain actually works under stress. Here's what's happening in your brain when pressure hits. Your amygdala, that's your brain's alarm system, detects a threat and floods your system with stress hormones. Within milliseconds, it hijacks your prefrontal cortex, which is where all your logical thinking happens. So now you're trying to make smart decisions with the emotional part of your brain, while your logical brain is essentially offline. It's like trying to perform surgery while someone's screaming fire in a crowded theater. This is why all that advice about staying calm backfires. You're asking a panicked brain to calm itself down. But Marcus Aurelius understood something that neuroscience has only recently proven. When you work with your brain's natural wiring instead of against it, everything changes. Instead of fighting the stress response, you redirect it. Instead of trying to shut down the alarm, you give it a different job. Your amygdala stops seeing everything as a threat and starts seeing opportunities for control. The billionaires I mentioned, they've trained their brains to automatically make this switch. And the 3 techniques that make this possible are so simple, you'll wonder why no one ever taught you this before. But here's the thing, you can't just know about these techniques. You have to understand exactly when and how to use each one. So let me show you the first technique, and I want you to imagine using this the next time pressure hits. First technique, the dichotomy of control. And it's devastatingly simple. In any high-pressure situation, there are only 2 types of things. Things you can control and things you can't. Most people waste 90% of their mental energy fighting things they can't control. When Elon Musk was facing that production crisis at Tesla, here's exactly what he did. He made 2 lists. Things he couldn't control: media criticism, stock price, investor panic, supplier delays. Things he could control: factory workflow, team communication, problem-solving process, his own decisions. He spent 0 mental energy on list 1 and 100% of his focus on list 2. Here's how you do this. The moment pressure hits, you ask yourself one question. What can I actually control right now? Not what you wish you could control, not what you think you should be able to control. What you can actually control. Then you redirect every ounce of your mental energy to that list. Let's say your boss just dumped a massive project on you with an impossible deadline. You can't control the deadline, the scope, or your boss's expectations. But you can control your next action, your priorities, who you ask for help, and how you break down the work. The moment you make that shift, the panic stops. This alone will change how you handle pressure forever. But there's a second technique that takes this even further. It's called negative visualization. And when Warren Buffett uses this during market crashes, it's like he can see the future. Here's how it works. Second technique, negative visualization. The second technique is called negative visualization, and it sounds completely backwards. Instead of trying to think positive thoughts, you deliberately imagine the worst-case scenario. But here's the key. You don't do this to scare yourself. You do it to rob fear of its power. When you've already mentally walked through the worst that could happen, pressure loses its grip on you. Warren Buffett does this before every major investment decision. During the 2008 financial crisis, while everyone else was panicking about losing money, Buffett had already imagined losing everything multiple times. He'd mentally rehearsed every possible disaster scenario. So when the actual crisis hit, he wasn't paralyzed by fear. He was buying stocks while everyone else was selling in panic. Here's how you do this. Before any high-pressure situation, spend 5 minutes imagining what could go wrong. Not to worry about it, but to prepare for it. What if the presentation goes badly? What if the client says no? What if the deadline gets moved up? Then ask yourself, if that happened, what would I do? Suddenly, you have a plan instead of a fear. The moment you do this, something incredible happens. Your brain stops treating these situations as unknown threats and starts seeing them as problems you've already solved. The anxiety disappears because you're no longer afraid of the unknown. You've already been there in your mind. But there's one final technique that brings this all together. It's called the view from above. And when Marcus Aurelius used this during the darkest moments of his reign, it gave him a perspective that made him literally unshakable. This is the technique that separates good leaders from legendary ones. Third technique, the view from above, anabasin. The third technique is called the view from above, or in ancient Greek, anabasin. When Marcus Aurelius was facing the collapse of everything he'd built, he would mentally zoom out from his immediate crisis. First to see his city, then his empire, then the earth, then the cosmos. From that perspective, even the fall of Rome was just a moment in infinite time. Jeff Bezos does this when Amazon faces criticism. He zooms out to see the 10-year, 20-year impact of his decisions. Elon Musk does this when Tesla hits roadblocks. He sees himself advancing human civilization, not just building cars. This isn't about minimizing your problems. It's about seeing them in their true context. When you zoom out far enough, pressure becomes perspective. Here's how you do this. When pressure hits, ask yourself, how will this matter in 10 years? In 100 years? Then, Zoom out further. In the grand scope of human history, what is this moment really? You're not dismissing the problem. You're seeing it clearly. Most pressure comes from making temporary situations feel permanent. The moment you master this perspective shift, something profound happens. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become an observer of them. You can think clearly because you're no longer trapped inside the problem. You're looking down at it from above. Now here's where it gets really powerful. When you combine all three techniques, the dichotomy of control, negative visualization, and the view from above, you become literally unshakable. But there's a specific way to use them together that multiplies their power. Here's the exact sequence that makes you unshakable. First, you use the view from above to get perspective. Zoom out and see the situation in its true context. Second, you apply the dichotomy of control. Identify what you can and can't control. Third, you use negative visualization. Mentally rehearse the worst case and prepare for it. This sequence transforms any crisis into clarity. Let's say you're about to give the most important presentation of your career and you're panicking. Step 1, view from above. In 10 years, will this presentation matter? I'm one person, giving one talk on one day. Step 2, dichotomy of control. I can't control their reaction, but I can control my preparation and delivery. Step 3, negative visualization. What if it goes badly? I'll learn from it and improve. Suddenly you're calm and focused. Each technique is powerful alone, but together they create something extraordinary. The view from above removes the emotional charge. The dichotomy of control directs your energy. Negative visualization removes your fear. You're no longer reacting to pressure. You're responding with wisdom. When you master this integration, pressure becomes your advantage. While others are losing their minds, you're thinking clearly. While they're paralyzed by fear, you're taking action. While they're overwhelmed by chaos, you're seeing opportunities. You now have the same mental framework that built empires and runs billion-dollar companies. But knowing these techniques isn't enough. You have to practice them until they become automatic. And there's one final thing you need to understand about becoming truly unshakable. The one final thing you need to understand is this. What I just showed you are the foundational techniques. But Marcus Aurelius didn't stop there. Neither did the billionaires. There are 4 advanced techniques that take this to a completely different level. Techniques so powerful that I had to split them into a separate video. These aren't just about staying calm under pressure anymore. These are about turning pressure into your greatest advantage. About becoming the person others look to when everything falls apart. The person who doesn't just survive crisis, but simply thrives in it. If you're ready to go from unshakable to unstoppable, the advanced techniques are waiting for you. Click the video on your screen right now or check the link in the description. But I have to warn you, once you learn these 4 techniques, there's no going back to who you used to be. You'll go from someone who handles pressure well to someone who seeks it out because you know it's where you do your best work. That's the difference between good and legendary. But even if you only master these first 3 techniques, you've already changed your relationship with pressure forever. Start using them today. The next time you feel overwhelmed, the next time you face a crisis. Remember, perspective, control, preparation. This is how empires were built. This is how billionaires think. And now, it's how you think too.